Guns have also hit the Supreme Court, lifting the need to show reason for carrying. States like New York and California are blatantly affected by this. And I have to tell you, I'm for it.
Tell us why.
Because everybody in New York has a gun except us, the citizen. Everybody. Cops, murderers, gang members, business owners. Everybody has guns except the average citizen walking in the street. So since everybody has it except the average citizen in the street, I'm okay with us all being able to have it now, especially with the extreme uptick in crimes in New York. I mean, barely any woman I know right now wants to take the subway. And that's never happened in my lifetime. I mean, the subways haven't been bad since the 70s in New York, and it's reminiscent of the 70s.
Describe that a bit. When you say bad, we're talking physical attacks,
talking physical
crime?
Attacks, getting thrown onto the track, getting sexually assaulted on the train. The new mayor we have, Mayor Adams, had proposed a new style of policing on the subway that police officers were supposed to split up and start separately from different ends of the train and then sort of, navigate the train and then meet each other in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Within 48 hours of him implementing that, a police officer got attacked on a train. I'm not even kidding. It was within 48 hours. And 72 hours later, he had to recant and say, actually, police officers are going to be walking in pairs. So, I mean, literally, you can't make this up that a police officer was beaten up within 48 hours of walking alone.
And they blame it on the
subway.
fact that he or she was alone.
Right, instead of being in the pairs like they normally are. And a lot of the crime is being blamed on the whole. This is the aftermath of defund the police.
Like, did New York defund the police?
Okay, allegedly, resources were paused.
Okay.
And because of it, they took away, I believe it was plainclothes police officers were taken out of subways and public areas, undercover officers, not in uniform officers, and crime exploded.
Interesting.
There's no disputing it.
See, I thought the whole point of defund the police was to get rid of like the military grade equipment and shit that they have. Like you don't need the tank. Maybe you don't need as many helicopters. Maybe you don't need as many drones or whatever. Like that's what at least people said defund the police was supposed to be about. How do you feel New York lived up to that expectation? And am I characterizing that expectation correctly?
I think people took that phrase and interpreted it very differently. And again, that's part of the problem with the way we're getting the news. And I think that's part of what's important about the way you and I have conversations is that we're getting told what to do with no information to back it up. There's no education piece. So transgenders, right? Transgender athletes, let them swim, let them swim. If you don't, you're a bigot in this. Okay. But where's the information that explains why this is okay? We're not getting the information that explains what did we mean by defund the police? What do we mean by this? What do we mean by that? These slogans come out. Black Lives Matter, all lives matter, blue lives matter, save the dolphins. It doesn't matter what it is. These slogans come out, but no one ever takes the time to give a clear commentary on what it means. So people took hearing the term defund the police all kinds of ways. One of the ways that it manifested in New York was taking undercover officers out of the subways and public areas. And guess what? Crime exploded in the subway and public areas. Look at all the smash and grabs. Unheard of. Just straight up like kicking in jewelry store door windows and grabbing everything in the windows and like beating up the girls in the front. Like, what are you doing? Literally rushing into Louis Vuitton and just ripping handbags out of the walls. And what has happened to us? What is wrong with this society?
Well, I think it's acceptable to wear a mask in public now. And so like you can't really assume someone's up to no good if they're just in a mask. So no one's going to necessarily call the police if five guys are running in, walking, let's say, just into a thing because you're just a dude with a mask on, right?
Well, nobody wants to get involved, right? Because nobody wants to get beat up or stabbed or attacked themselves in the midst of this. But the saddest part about all this, though, is where are the values everybody keeps talking about? Every other person I know lately defines themselves as a conservative. And yet every other person I know is struggling with a substance addiction, divorced, having unmarried sex, cheating on their taxes. Where are these values? Where are these traditional? Where is it? Everybody's talking about it, but where is it? Where is tangible evidence that these morals, these values, these families that we care so much about, these Christians the Christians are the evangelicals who finally pushed through overturning Roe versus Wade. They are jerking off all over each other. But why aren't they standing outside the foster care clinics and the child care facilities and the orphanages adopting all the children?
Well, we know why.
Since everybody cares about the life of the child so much. Why are we canceling Head Start programs? Why are we not funding WIC? Why are we not funding summer programs for kids? And all the while waving a Bible around talking about pro-life. Every pro-life person I know is pro-death penalty.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the first commandment of the 10 says, "Thou shalt not kill."
It's not the first, but it's one of the best known ones.
What's the first commandment?
No other gods before me, I think.
Let's check.
God was a little petty on the...
Oh, God's a narcissist. You're right. Thou shalt not kill is 6th.
Word.
Having said that, thou shalt have no other gods before me. That includes money. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven images, meaning you're not supposed to be wearing gold crosses. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain. Good luck. Remember the Sabbath. Nice try. Honor your father and mother. Ha! Thou shalt not kill. Any day now. There is not a single one of these commandments that we as a society have not agreed to on some level is okay, depending on the circumstance and context.
Very good point.
But suddenly, we've drawn a hard line around women and unwanted pregnancies. Fascinating. At the same time, within 24 to 48 hours, the Supreme Court also ruled that the federal government doesn't have the right to govern how people defend themselves, hence why you can now carry a gun. But apparently the federal government can tell women what to do with their vaginas, depending on the longitude and latitude of where they're standing at the time. And this makes sense to us as a society.
Well, the gun thing was like, hey, it should not be left up to the states what they do about like gun laws, basically, is kind of what they were getting at, which is why people are freaking out, even though the lawsuit itself was like, there was more nuance to it, but they say this is like a crack. This is a crack in that wall of the idea of states being able to have their own gun laws. So like gun law is not being left up to the state. That's the meat and potatoes of it.
But we are leaving up to the state to decide for an individual woman who happens to be within the longitude and latitude of the parameters of that state, what they can and cannot do with their womb. And this makes sense. This makes sense.